What you are experiencing is a glimpse of the wild boglands of Ireland. Boglands once covered 1/6 of the country, an area of 1.7 million hectares. Today, less than half of the original area remains, but even so, Ireland is still one of the last countries in Europe where these endangered habitats survive. Although many people say we still have an abundance of bogs, every year an area of bog almost 20 times the size of the country of Monaco is destroyed. It would be very sad if we lost all the bogs in Ireland. Think what we would lose. Wild birds, the red deer, plants that eat insects, colourful wild flowers, bog cotton blowing in the wind, and breathtaking scenery.
What is a bog? Well, a bog is any area of the country which is covered in peat and which has as its only mineral supply the rain and the dust which falls on its surface. Bogs, of course, are wet wonderlands which support a unique community of plants and animals.
The bog story began 12,000 years ago when Ireland was in the grips of an ice age. At that time, the land surface was buried beneath snow and ice. As the climate became warmer, the great ice sheets began to melt, and plants and animals returned to the emerging landscape. Over much of the country, shallow lakes were present which were rich feeding grounds for migratory birds such as whooper swans. These lakes gradually became colonized with reeds and water lilies. As the plants died, their remains accumulated as fen peat. Fens are the first stage in the formation of a bog. They are rich wildlife habitats. The water supply to the plants is from the mineral-rich groundwater. Ragged robin, bog cotton and orchids are commonly found in fens. The sedge warbler nests in the reed beds of the fen. This bird is a summer visitor to Ireland from Africa. It is often called the Irish nightingale. The flowers of lady's smock provide food for the green-veined white butterfly. As the fen peat thickens, plant roots lose contact with the groundwater and have to rely on rainwater for their minerals. The fen is now becoming an acid bog. Bog moss, or sphagnum, invades the surface, which marks the beginning of true acid bog growth. Some plants survive in this poor habitat by eating insects. The sundew traps insects in the sticky fluid produced at the ends of tentacles on the spoon-shaped leaves. The butterwort also catches midges on its sticky leaves. The surface of a living bog is made up of hummocks and wet hollows or pools. Hummocks are the driest parts of the bog, and heathers and lichens are found here. The curlew breeds on the bogs in summer when food is plentiful, but moves to lowland and coastal areas in winter to feed. In bog pools, newts are found. These are in the same group of animals as the frog. They are amphibians and can survive in water and on land. Many species of moth caterpillar are found on the bog. Leeches are sometimes seen in the wet areas. Dragonflies are hunters on the bogs and lay their eggs in the bog pools, but can fall prey to the meadow pipit, one of the commonest birds on the bog. The red grouse, or heather hen, depends on heather for food and shelter. The peregrine falcon often hunts over the bog in search of prey. The wet bog presents no difficulty to the sure-footed red deer. Let us now slice back through thousands of years with each schlan full of peat, to discover man's past preserved by the bog. The unique preserving powers of peat are due to the waterlogged conditions found in bogs which prevent rotting. The peat preserves prehistoric farming landscapes that are 5,000 years old. The bog also preserves more delicate items, such as leather shoes. These date to the 6th and 8th centuries and were found in a bog in County Leitrim. This laced shoe dates to the 17th century. This gold torque was found in a bog in County Tipperary and is dated at 700 BC. It was worn around the neck and is beautifully decorated by an Irish goldsmith. One of the more common finds are wooden vessels. The decorated wooden vessel being examined here in the National Museum dates to the 14th or 15th century and contains bog butter, which is often still edible. Ancient musical instruments have also been found in bogs, which would have been used at ceremonies and assemblies. The great Irish elk is perhaps the most impressive discovery in the bogs. Herds of these animals roamed the country before the Ice Age. The antler span of the Irish elk is some 3 meters across. These animals became extinct due to a change in climatic conditions. The most gruesome finds are undoubtedly the bog bodies. Here is the body of a man found in Gala Bog, County Galway. It's over 2,000 years old. His body was pinned into the bog by a series of stakes, one of which pierced his side. The noose around his neck suggests that he was murdered in a ritual killing and then placed in the bog. Many of the artifacts found in the bog were discovered by chance during turf cutting by hand. Hand turf cutting was confined to the edge of the bogs, leaving the centre undisturbed. This tradition is declining in Ireland in recent times and is being replaced by the new familiar sausage peat machines. A farmer can now cut as much turf as he needs in a very short time using these machines. In the last 40 years, the enormous bog reserves of Ireland have played a key role in the rural and national economy. The peat in the bog can be up to 12 metres deep and can provide millions of tons of peat each year. Peat is used to generate electricity, to improve garden soil, and as a solid fuel. We have cut away vast areas of bogland. This type of mechanical turf cutting leaves nothing of the original bogland and its wildlife. Another development which changes the face of the boglands is the planting of conifer trees, particularly on bogs in the west of Ireland. Here, blocks of forestry break up the extensive blanket of peat, and valuable wildlife habitats are disturbed, altered, and lost. The scenic value of such areas is destroyed. Not all tree planting on bogs are successful because of the wetness and the exposure to winds. The natural rugged beauty of the bogs of the west of Ireland are unparalleled in the world. Every year, tourists flock to Ireland to experience this wild, peaceful, and healing landscape. Although the economic uses of bogs are vital to our economy, we must remember that bogs are a finite resource and cannot last forever. Valuable lessons have been learned from the Dutch, who realized the value of their bogs for nature conservation only after they had cut them all away. It was too late at that stage. They regret their mistake and are spending millions to restore their lost heritage. Are we going to make the same mistakes as they did? The fact is that there are very few undamaged bogs remaining in Ireland. Today, conservation groups such as the Irish Peatland Conservation Council and state agencies, including the Wildlife Service of the Office of Public Works, have recognized the need for conservation of our bogland heritage.
What's all this excitement, you may ask, about bogs? Well, if I were to tear the cover off the Book of Kells and rip out the pages, would you object? Our bogs are invaluable living history books and can tell us far more than anything else about the ancient history of Ireland. But we're tearing the cover off them and burning the pages.
The fate of our bogland heritage rests with each one of us. The choice is ours. Should we develop all of our bogs? Or should we act now and conserve part of our bogland heritage for future generations to enjoy?